Welcome to the Town Board Workshop and Public Hearing. Please rise and salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are to my right behind the town attorney and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Okay, Councilwoman Samoji? Here. Councilman Morris?
Here.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Supervisor Prodi?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Councilman Gutierrez is absent.
Okay, we have Rebuilding Together presentation by Christina Borick.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. I'm Christina Borick. I'm the Executive Director of Rebuilding Together Dutchess County. We're a local nonprofit here in the county that's committed to providing cost-free, safe, and healthy home repairs to income-qualified Dutchess County residents. And we've been here for 27 years. Some of you may recognize we were founded as Christmas in April, changed our name in the early 2000s, but really still have the same core mission. Our mission is repairing homes, revitalizing communities, and rebuilding lives. And we believe that everyone deserves to live in a safe home and community. And so we're thrilled to have been able to come here tonight to talk to you a little bit more about our work, why we focus on repairs for existing homeowners, why we feel it's important to our community and to strengthen our community, and also wanted to just talk to you a little bit about our current application process. So we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about our programming. But as I mentioned, we've been here for 27 years. In that time, we've helped over 700 homeowners and several nonprofits by providing cost-free home repairs. The majority of our work has traditionally been done with volunteer assistance. So we've engaged over nearly 14,000 volunteers in our 27-year history. And we look at the market value of the work that we do. If somebody were to have to go out and pay an individual to do the work, and for our impact since inception has been over $6.6 million, to give you a sense of what we've invested back into our community. Our large-scale projects, which are our Rebuilding Day projects, and that's really our flagship program, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But to give you a sense of a single project, the investment's usually about $20,000 on average for those projects. So oftentimes very large-scale efforts. And so really focusing on why we repair. I mentioned safe and healthy housing. Our work addresses the issues behind what may be causing a home to be unsafe or unhealthy. And the homeowners that we tend to serve are really struggling oftentimes to make ends meet, having to make decisions about, the car breaks down or whatever the household expense may be, and oftentimes are deferring maintenance on their home, which can really lead to an unsafe and unhealthy situation. And so we're hopeful that we can come in and make those repairs for them and really stabilize that situation for them and allow them to stay in their home. We're also preserving and restoring housing stock. So here in Dutchess County, we have an aging housing stock. Nearly 70% of the housing stock was built before 1979, which then also introduces a whole nother category of looking at unsafe and unhealthy environments. They may have lead paint, they may have asbestos, they may have old or faulty wiring, and so it's really important to address those hazards. Another reason why we repair is we allow seniors and individuals with disabilities to remain in their home, age in place, live independently, and safely within their home. And we tend to serve a lot of older adults through our programs, individuals who've owned their home for a long period of time, who want to stay in their home, as I said, age in place. And with some modifications, we can really help them do that. You know, a broken hip based on a tripping hazard or a fall hazard within a home on average costs about $37,000. But a grab bar that can help prevent that fall costs about $25. And so we think it's a really great investment in our community to be able to go in and offer these services to allow individuals to age in place. And then also energy efficiency consumption. Lower income households tend to spend more of their overall household income on energy costs as compared to a median income household. And so with some other, again, sometimes minor modifications like caulking windows and putting weather stripping in, as well as large-scale things like replacing windows, we can help homeowners, you know, really hold on to the income that they need to then invest into their families and into the maintenance of their home. And then lastly, our work stabilizes properties and their values and prevents neighborhoods from further decline. You know, as we see, especially more in urban areas, but we see this in rural areas as well, for every home that's lost to either decline, a family just can't keep up with it, or maybe they've lost it to a mortgage foreclosure, that has a negative impact on the community of about 10% on the overall value of the neighborhood's values. But the opposite is true as well. When we can come in and help that home and allow those individuals to stay in their home, it can really start to revitalize a community one home at a time. And we'd really love to start doing more focused work. We will always do work across the county, but in neighborhoods where we feel that there is a lot of opportunity for us to really help revitalize community, we'd like to do more focused days. And so we'd love to do multiple projects in the town of Amenia, you know, on an annual basis, and really even do them on a single day together. And maybe combine that with a community revitalization project. We also do work with nonprofits, and so I'd love to talk to you more about opportunities within your community to do that. But first, let's talk about our home repair program and really how we take a science-based approach to safe and healthy housing. We look at 8 principles of safe and healthy housing, things like keep it dry, keep it safe, keep it contaminant-free. And we take every house, we really look at the individual needs of that individual home. So things like keep it dry, right? We can all think about what that may be. You know, is the roof leaking? Does it need to be replaced or repaired? Are the gutters working properly? But also, are there plumbing issues? Are there, you know, one leaky faucet can, after a period of time, really have a negative impact in a house as far as just having that moisture and then mold growing in and making it an unhealthy environment. But also contaminants, like, as I mentioned before, lead and asbestos with our aging housing stock is a real issue for individuals, especially if you have children in the home. Other contaminants can be asthma triggers as well. So if we can go in and deal with those contaminants, the family can be healthier. And then keep it safe. That's one I like to talk about as well. We talked about that a little bit earlier with aging in place. Things like removing tripping hazards, whether it's old carpeting that has become you know, rippled and a tripping hazard, or maybe it's a kitchen floor that you know, the tiles are worn and those are a tripping hazard, or you don't have handrails at your steps, or your steps are crumbling. All of those things are things that we can deal with to help keep a home safe. And so we break our programs, our home repair programs, into 2 major categories: large-scale projects and then small-scale projects. So our large-scale projects are our rebuilding day type programs where we may do multiple projects in a single day. Those are our large-scale projects that really have a higher value as far as the market value. They may be things like doing a roof and windows, or a wheelchair ramp, or multiple things within a single day to the home. And then our small repairs are more focus initially around fire safety. So we do smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, fire extinguishers, reflective house numbers, those smaller things that can really have a tremendous impact on a family as far as reducing fire-related injuries and deaths. And then we also will do other minor repairs, like maybe you just need a couple grab bars, or maybe you don't have a handrail in one place that you feel like you really need to. So we changed our application this year so that all of our home repairs are in a single application. And if you're applying for small-scale repairs, we don't need as much information from the homeowner as we would for large-scale, but they're all in a single application. For ease of use, the homeowner doesn't need to determine which application they need. They can just fill out the one application, and then we can help them determine which programs are best for them. So really, we break down to our Rebuilding Day programs. As I talked about, our large-scale programs, you've seen us do those. We typically do those multiple in a single day in April and October. We do other projects throughout the year, often when we're engaging contractors to do the work for us. Our handyman program is our small-scale program, and then our home safety and fire prevention program. And then I just lastly want to mention, so that your residents and your nonprofits in your community know, we do have a Community Strong program for nonprofits and for community spaces. And we'd love and encourage nonprofits in your community to apply for that. Oftentimes our nonprofits are struggling with deferred maintenance on their buildings, just like our homeowners are, putting all of their precious resources into their programming. And so that's an application that's also on our website. Both our home repair application, and our Community Strong application are on our website, rtduchess.org. If people aren't sure if they qualify, they can call our office, and I'll put that number for residents. It's 845-454-7310. We're happy to walk through eligibility over the phone with people, but at a very high level, eligibility: homeowner in Dutchess County. There is an income eligibility. It's based on the average median income that's set by HUD. This year, and it's based on the number of people that live in the home. This year, a household of 2, it's about $60,000, to give you a sense of what that income level is. The income for all households is on our application, which is available on our website. And then we just ask that the homeowners are current with their mortgage and their taxes, because we want them to stay in their home. We want to be able to come in and make these repairs for them so that they can live in a safe and healthy home, and they can stay there as long as they'd like to. And so we ask them to have that payment, those 2 payments, up to date, and that they have an active homeowners insurance policy. And again, we're happy to talk to individuals about their eligibility. We're happy to have a day where we come here and have staff members, if you'd like. We've been starting this year with other towns where we've defined what we're calling office hours, and our AmeriCorps members will come and be at Town Hall during a period of time if homeowners want to come and ask questions, or if they need assistance with the application. So we're happy to do that if that's something you're interested in.
Yes, we would be.
Okay, great.
And I think we also have applications out at our table as you come in.
Okay, great. I'll look on my way out.
Yeah, and because we like to have if there's none there, we would like to have applications there, because we have a lot of traffic, and we keep things on that table so people can pick them up. Who can, who need to use them.
Sure, I'll look. I brought some with me, and I have some just generic brochures as well, so I can put some of those there. And I also have flyers if you have a billboard that you have for individuals, and they can it's a tear off. They can take the number.
As soon as you walk into the vestibule, right there on your right-hand side, you're welcome to put it up there on your way.
And then lastly, I would just ask if you know of any residents that could benefit from our services. We'd love for you to encourage for them to apply. For our large-scale projects, the application period is actually a defined period. It's not a rolling period. And so it is currently open through the end of September. So if somebody is interested in those or needs those large-scale repairs, they need to apply by the end of September in order to be considered for projects for next year. For the small-scale repairs, that's rolling. People can apply anytime. And also, if you know of any organizations or maybe skilled individuals in your community that you think would be interested in supporting our work. We still do the majority of our work with volunteers. We are able to bid out some of the work through funding that we have through the state, so we'd love to help support businesses here in your community as well. Any questions?
Yeah, Christina,
Yes.
you gave examples of large-scale projects and small scale. Is there a dollar limit when it comes to a small scale as opposed to a large scale?
No, if somebody thinks they need small scale, and then we go in and, every home is previewed by a staff member once an individual has applied. So if they apply as a small scale and we find that if there's really additional needs, we would just make that adjustment on our end and maybe have to ask them for a couple additional items like proof of their mortgage is current and things like that. But there's no dollar limit. It's really more about, we look at it as a small scale would really take volunteers a day or less to do the project, and it would probably be a team of 5 or less that would need to come in and do the work. So that's more how we kind of categorize smaller scale versus large scale.
Okay.
Our large scale projects, even though we call our rebuilding days a single day for our volunteers, we're often in that home for about a month before a rebuilding day and afterwards, really engaging, a skilled electrician team and maybe a skilled roofing team, and then the majority of the work is then happening on the rebuilding day.
And if you want to set a time, you could contact the town clerk. She keeps the calendar. We do have rooms available for
Great.
someone, for someone to come in, either this room or our planning board meeting room.
Yeah, and
So if you want to set up a time and day, just call the town clerk and set it up,
beautiful.
and then we'll advertise it for you.
That would be wonderful. I'm hopeful that people will come out and ask questions, and oftentimes the biggest question is proof of income and what they should send with their application, and that's very private information, so meeting with somebody and being able to talk to them is, I think, really beneficial. So it's been working well in other towns, and we'd love to be able to do it here as well. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Thank you for coming out.
Yes.
It's a great program.
Thank you.
Make a motion to open the public hearing for the solar laws.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Were there any comments for the solar law?
Good evening, I'm Stacy Mantle. I realized I sent you a couple of sites that featured carports,
Yes.
which are wonderful, in my opinion, because they keep the cars, nice and cool in the summer, and in the rain and the snow, they keeps the car really nice. I guess it would be considered a ground mount but a car can go under it. That's 1 or 2 cars can go under it. So in your development of this law, maybe you can consider it as being a carport rather than a ground mount, and give it the benefits a carport would have because it's doing that function. I wanted to expand on that, but I went really and I looked at the law a little deeper. And I wanted to air my opinion on that some of the sections regarding this proposed law seem prohibitive and overly restrictive and may actually act as a deterrent. For example, Section F3D states all solar panels shall be constructed of a material designed to minimize glare and located in order to prevent reflective glare towards any inhabited building, adjacent properties, or public roads. This would mean I'd need to find an installer who knows of virtually glare-free panels and would be able to situate them in such a way that there would be no glare going towards a neighbor's inhabited property, adjacent property, and public road. Not all solar installers have a variety of panels. They usually work with one type of panel they're most familiar with, and not all installers come out to Amenia. I found this out myself. As we know, the sun moves across the sky and can reflect off surfaces in many different directions. The sun moves. Glare from the panels, if any, would be fleeting and based on the time of day and time of year in different locations. How can an installer meet these requirements? Would a mock-up or modeling need to be done, and at what cost? Would a 24-hour survey need to be done? What if it's cloudy on that day? To meet the conditions of this section to the letter would be nearly impossible. I feel that this section is unreasonable and arbitrary. And I looked into solar glare from panels, and I did some research on the internet. And the following statement is from energy.gov, the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. Quote, "A common misconception about solar PV panels is that they inherently cause or create too much glare, posing a nuisance to neighbors and safety risk for pilots. While PV systems can produce glare, light absorption rather than reflection is central to the function of PV panels. While in certain situations the glass surfaces of solar PV systems can produce glint, a momentary flash of bright light, and glare, a reflection of bright light for maybe a longer duration, light absorption rather than reflection is central to the function of a solar PV panel, to absorb solar radiation and convert it to electricity. Solar PV panels are constructed of dark-colored, usually blue or black materials, and are covered with anti-reflective coatings. Modern PV panels reflect as little as 2% of incoming sunlight, about the same as water and less than soil or even wood shingles. Some of the concern and misconception is likely due to the confusion between solar PV panels and concentrated solar power systems, which is CSP. They use an array of mirrors to reflect sunlight, which generates electricity. That is not residential solar power. If one would just read this section, F3D, it may seem that installation of solar panels in Amenia is more trouble than it's worth. And they might say, well, you know, is this ever going to happen for me? And I honestly hope you strike this section. An installer from Woodstock priced out panels for me. It seems that ground-mounted systems are much more expensive than roof-mounted. For this reason, I put my solar dreams on hold because I need a new roof first. For ground mount, this law requires evergreen screening. 4-foot evergreens can be $125 each, a big expense if upward of 10 are needed. It may be unnecessary if the neighbors don't care. Neighbors can be consulted. It can be added later on if they change their minds. We cannot make the assumption that the panels will be an eyesore. There are a lot of other things that can be considered eyesores other than solar panels. Section F3C states, solar panels affixed to a flat roof shall be placed below the line of sight from a public right-of-way. And I stop myself and I say, why? Just why? There are other things on flat roofs. There are heating elements, air conditioning units. There's a lot of things poking up off of flat roofs that I've noticed. Such screenings and hidings go into the issue of aesthetics. Beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. I would rather see solar panels in any configuration than the Deepwater Horizon type oil spills, Fukushima events, and natural gas explosions any day of the week. We can all agree that solar is the safer option. Is there something inherently shameful or dangerously controversial about knowing solar panels are being used by our neighbors? If anything, knowing a neighbor has them because we can see them will spur more conversation about its benefits. We do not have the luxury to consider aesthetics right now. because we have been warned by an overwhelming number of scientists that we are at a critical time regarding climate change. And even if you choose not to believe the science, that this is not man-made, fine. Let's just not exacerbate it. It's not going away by itself anytime soon. It comes down to us all at the local level, right here, to do the right thing. I would not speak differently if panels were put next door to me. There is a huge unused field across the road from me. I believe the owner makes hay. If a large ground mount system were to be put there, you would not hear me complain. You will only hear me ask, can I tap into that? Perhaps there is a need for regulation regarding solar field systems or commercial solar. My understanding is that's what precipitated the law. So be it. Let's work on that first. Let's not make residential solar so complex and prohibitive on its face that the homeowner would easily give up on the idea when reading the law. I ask that you do not adopt Local Law 2 of the year 2019 as it is currently written. Carve out and work on the solar field systems aspect, and please continue with the public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have any comment? No.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we were looking at, I mean, because you raised it last time, we were looking at, what? Oh, yeah, stand up, right, of course. We actually, when last time we spoke, we were looking at both carports, and also a lot of places have solar panels over their parking lots. And that seemed like something we should address as well, since the space in front of Freshtown is probably one of the larger impervious open spaces in Amenia, so that seems like it might be an obvious place to use them, and again, it shades cars and all that. So it is something that we're looking at.
Should we continue the public hearing, or?
It's really up to the board. At this point, we could adjourn the public hearing, or close the public hearing, sorry, and then we'll make the revisions and relay the law based on the public comment that's been received, and relay that on the desk. It's got to be on the desk for 7 days before we can take action on it. So there is a time frame that we're under. So it might make sense to do that at this point.
Okay. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Public comment?
Oh, actually, one thing. When last we spoke, we talked about trying to beat the deadline on the moratorium, and there were specific dates that we had talked about what would have to happen. Thank you.
So, since the public hearing is now closed, I think the meetings in July were moved because of July 4th. And so you have a meeting this week and a meeting next week, and the moratorium is supposed to be done on the 26th, I think. So when we spoke a couple of days ago, we thought that if you moved the meeting from next Thursday, which I think is the 18th, to the following week, which is the 25th, then we could turn around whatever changes were suggested throughout this process to you by next Thursday. You would have it on your desk for a week to take a look at it. And then it could be on your agenda for the 25th, adopted, and then you would beat the moratorium. And that was just, in terms of not having to continually extend the moratorium, that would be our suggestion.
Okay.
So we have a special meeting on the 26th, or?
Would-
On 25th.
25th?
25th,
Can
yeah.
be a special meeting, or you can move the meeting.
Or we could just move the 18th meeting to the 25th.
Right.
Does that work for everybody? Or?
Yeah, that's fine. Is that going to interfere with us having to pay our vouchers and stuff? Are we still in this time frame?
Yeah, you're
That's
gonna
right,
make
yeah.
vouchers.
Because we have
Might
to,
be better to do just a special meeting then.
I would think that we could
Actually, if you keep the 18th, that would allow us then to actually lay the law on the desk, which
Yeah.
would satisfy the time. Otherwise, it would be
And
more
then
of a
have a
mailing
special
timeframe, which
meeting
is-
on the
It's a
25th?
different timeframe.
That's what I would suggest, is that we actually be ready to pass it as it is, or whatever.
So everybody's available on the 25th for a special meeting?
Special meeting for the 25th.
And
Yeah,
a regular
yes.
meeting on the 18th, I guess.
Okay,
So then, and at the same time, 7 o'clock at night?
yes.
Same clock. Okay, 7 PM to special meeting. Okay.
See, I'm looking at the timeframes, and it's, the way they calculate the 7 days, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, there's another thing that we're going to have to approve too before the end of the month. That would be,
Then if we move that, we wouldn't, if the moratorium runs on the 26th, if we had it the following week at one of those dates, that would give us probably the proper time frame, and you would have some overlay off the moratorium, but it would allow, you'd have to meet the time frame, because you can't count the first and last day of the day that it's laid and the day that it's voted on. So it's kind of like a 2-day process. So it's,
we're going to need the special meeting anyway, I think.
if we have to do one at the end of the month, then we could do it. There would be a small window where there was where the moratorium would expire before the law would be passed. It would be over a weekend if we did it on a Monday.
So we still should have the 25th meeting. I think we're going to need it anyway.
Yeah.
But then,
It's not the 7 days.
yeah, but then you would have one on the 18th, one on the 25th, and then another one after that? You want to do?
First, I think.
Yeah, the first would be.
So we're going to have a meeting every week for the next 4 weeks.
The 18th has the vouchers, right?
Yes.
25th? What's on the 25th?
It would just,
I thought we have to approve the settlement.
It's not going to meet the deadline until the first week in August.
August 1st.
Is there no way we can do it on the 18th? Just pass the solar law, we wouldn't have it ready
We're
by
not
then?
ready.
Yeah, we'd have to pass it as is.
Well, we have to make the
Yeah, it wouldn't
changes.
allow time for any changes, and
Okay.
there's some pretty significant changes
Okay.
that
What about extending the
But we're going
moratorium?
to, when we,
can't any longer.
all you're going to do is introduce the local law, isn't that correct, with the changes?
No.
That'll be the
We
final?
Yeah, we can make the changes off what we have, and then take those changes based on the public comment, and then present them to the board, and then they would have 7 days from there, from that date forward to.
From
to
the
vote.
7 days from the 18th?
Yeah, so I'm thinking if we, instead of doing it on the 25th, if we do it
The 29th?
29th or 30th or 31st, one of those days, I think would be better. I think it would actually
Hey, we're just going to move
Give us
that
a little buffer
meeting for the
time on
first
the-
up if you need to move it earlier.
changes as well.
What
And-
days are
and
you
this way you
available?
wouldn't have to keep-
Sticky?
You wouldn't have to have a meeting every week. You could take 1 week off and just do it at the end of the month. This way it would save you an extra meeting.
So we couldn't do it on August 1st, like our regular meeting when it comes up?
Good,
We
you could,
Rather than trying to squeeze another meeting into...
you could,
But
but
the
there's,
moratorium is over.
but the moratorium would expire, so there would be a period of time where,
Somebody could quickly put
4
up
days.
a solar panel.
24 hours for the solar field installation.
you know,
Hopefully not.
So,
It wouldn't happen.
What is your
I
schedule?
could do,
well, we
so
just do the first. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I can do any of that in that week, it's not bad. Of July, end of July,
Yeah, I
first
mean,
week of August.
The, you need to use our microphone. Oh, sorry. Let's take that.
There's Mike right there, Nina.
The question is, can we make the August 1st?
Sure.
But it's 24 hours after the deadline.
You know, right now what the code says is essentially if the code is absence of a regulation on a particular use, somebody needs to come to the town board for a special permit anyway. So there would be no circumstance under which that couple of days between the time at which the moratorium is over and we adopt the law, that somebody could all of a sudden come in and put something up.
Well, that makes,
Right, that law
so we'll
doesn't
just do
allow
the
it.
first? Okay.
So we'll look to have it for the
The
board on the
18th.
18th.
So we'll have the 18th and the 1st.
Okay.
That works.
Okay.
Then we save ourselves meetings.
Yeah, let me
Works out.
scratch that off.
Weekly meetings in July are not really popular.
So after they present the new law to us on the 18th, by Friday morning, by 9 a.m., it'll be on our website.
Okay.
We get that question when there's a new law going. So then you'll be able to locate it immediately on our website, and it'll be on the home page. I'll make sure it's on the home page. You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Done?
Are we good?
Smoky.
You're so great up there, Nina. Stay.
Okay, supervisor's report. Wassaic Trail of the Train update. The DOT permit group will not renew the highway permit for the Trail of the Train project at this time. DOT did not address the signal issue in the original highway permit it approved for this project, even though it is their requirement. DOT states that the addition of the signal at the train station, as proposed, will require an additional 7 seconds of rail preemption. MTA will require additional work to add the required preemption. Currently, the permit has not the means to add the required preemption would create a hazard if constructed, as it is on the DOT highway permit. This project needs to be reconfigured to include the required work by MTA to increase the preemption time to accommodate the pedestrian phase at the signal. MTA replied that a small modification in the existing equipment requiring minor rewiring and a new timing unit. The expected cost would be $15,000, including materials, labor, and engineering. The DOT wants the town of Amenia to pay for the MTA upgrade that it is requiring as part of their permit. The additional insurance requirements were sent by the contractor 2 weeks ago and are still being reviewed by the Metro North Risk Department. Adjustments to the original survey requested by the contractor were made by Kurt Horton at a cost of $200. Town of Amenia Highway Garage update. We're finalizing the RFP for engineering services and we're researching grant opportunities. Noise law updated town board to provide recommendations for the final draft. Dutchess County Procurement Shared Services. We're finalizing RFP details. Regional Ambulance Grant. Towns of Northeast, Amenia, and Dover met on July 3rd with Dutchess County Emergency Response officials to discuss review by each town's attorneys and to decide what questions to send to NDP for the proposal. Grant update, resolutions for Main Street and Wassaic Park are on the agenda, and information being put together for the CFA application. Town clerk report.
Good evening. The minutes of June 20th were circulated to the board. Has everyone had the opportunity to review?
Yes.
Yes.
And are we ready to move?
Yes, I'm ready. For June 20th, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for June 20th, 2019.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Jim, sorry, I forgot you weren't
I wasn't here.
here. You weren't here.
Well, we still have a
Gotcha
quorum,
here.
so
Yep, no, we're good.
motion passes.
Okay.
We made it.
And to report that the amount collected in the town clerk's office for the month of June was $1,219, of which $1,180.50 was remitted to the supervisor for the local share. I received a request from Jeff Bernat Wimsby. The Wassaic Project is going to be hosting their event on August 3rd, and he's requesting for road closure from noon until 11 p.m. This will be from Maxim Mills to the top of Furnace Bank to ensure the safety and well-being of all the participants.
I
Over the
believe
years-
we need a resolution for that.
Yep. So he's made that presentation to us or that request, and I'm presenting for him on his behalf
Okay.
this evening. So for the next meeting, if we can have a resolution for that.
You provide me the,
I can actually send you the old resolutions.
I just need the info.
That's what I got.
Perfect.
You can keep it. Thank you. So Jeff, if you're watching, we'll complete that and finalize it at the next meeting.
Yeah, and he needs to contact the highway superintendent.
Jeff does directly,
Yes.
or we will? Okay.
Jeff does directly, because there's a form that she needs to complete.
I will tell him to do so. And I do have one last matter to present to the board, that Stanley Whitehead has resigned from the position as an independent contractor. If we can get,
I'll make a motion that we accept with regret Stanley Whitehead's resignation as the independent contractor for the town of Amenia.
Second.
Michelle, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and that'll conclude the town clerk's report.
Building report, June's monthly report for the building department. For building permits, we have issued 13 new building permits totaling $2,520. We are continuing with certificate of occupancy searches for the month. We did 13 searches with totals of $1,750, 7 fire inspections of $350, along with 2 abandonment property registration of $250, and 6 renewals of $891, bringing the total for the month to $5,761. Are there any commission or committee reports?
CAC is meeting on the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. in this room, and we will be reviewing our natural resource inventory that's ongoing, and if you want to join in and become a part of this Conservation Advisory Council, where we welcome your input, you can come and see what we're all about, and we have an opening available, so you might want to sign up for it or apply for that position.
Is there any other committee reports?
The only thing as I have is for the seniors. We have, this July, Saturday, July 27th is our annual senior picnic at the Wassaic Firehouse. Please feel free to call and to sign up. It's going to be a wonderful time. It's going to be catered by Cousins Deli in Wingdale. They catered it last year. It's going to be a lovely chicken barbecue with everything you can imagine. And we're going to have music and free raffles, free door, not raffles, but door prizes. We'll have door prizes, and it should be a wonderful, wonderful time. So please feel free to come on down and join us for that. And then in August, you have to be signing up this month for that, is the Lake George trip. So if you want to go, get your money in for Lake George by the end of July, last week in July. We'll go up to that, and then we'll have a wonderful time. And that's pretty much all that I have for anything that's happening with anyone else. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to move the resolution to reappoint the assessor for after our executive session. Resolutions for consolidated funding application grants. Resolution number
38.
A resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, whereas the town of Amenia has a $100,000 grant to be matched with $100,000 in local funds to improve access to Wassaic Park, providing new recreation amenities for visitors and residents with a total park improvement investment of up to $200,000. Whereas the town is seeking a park planning and development grant and intends to apply through the consolidated funding application process to New York State Parks. Whereas the grant application for Wassaic Park must be filed through the consolidated funding application by July 26. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes preparation of a grant application to the New York State Parks and authorizes the supervisor to sign and certify the application. Is there a motion?
I make the motion that we accept the resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservations.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Smoldry?
Yes.
Resolution 39, a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the local waterfront revitalization program on behalf of the Housatonic Valley Association and Harlem Valley Region. Whereas the Town of Amenia has successfully partnered with the Housatonic Valley Association in obtaining a successful grant in 2018 in the amount of $17,208 for climate-smart community certification actions. Whereas the HVA has requested that the town sponsor a local waterfront revitalization grant for regional environmental planning. The HVA will develop the grant for the benefit of the Town of Amenia and the Harlem Valley region, acting on behalf of the 10 Mile River Watershed Collaborative. Whereas the Town of Amenia is requesting funding from the New York State Department of State's Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, LWRP, to complete a watershed-based management plan for the 10 Mile River, TMR. The grant will pay up to 75% of the total project cost, up to a maximum of $100,000, with a 25% local match to be provided by funds from the HVA. The HVA notes that developing a watershed plan is a critical early step in the creation of a local waterfront revitalization program for eastern Dutchess County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Amenia authorizes the town supervisor to submit a consolidated funding application for, on behalf of the HVA and the Harlem Valley region, to the New York State Local Waterfront Revitalization Program.
I make a resolution. Yeah, a motion that we have a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the local waterfront revitalization program on behalf of the Housatonic Valley Association and the Harlem Valley region.
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Smoldry?
Yes.
Resolution number 40. A resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Main Street Program. Whereas the Town of Amenia is seeking a grant of up to $300,000 through the New York State Main Street Program for building renovation, streetscape improvements, and project administration to continue efforts to bring about downtown revitalization. Whereas the town's proposed second Main Street grant would focus on the hamlet of Amenia, and these revitalization efforts would include renovations to buildings in downtown Amenia, seeking improvements to both commercial and residential units with grants of up to 75% of total project costs. The grant will allocate up to $50,000 for each building, with an additional $25,000 per residential unit in the building, up to a maximum grant of $100,000 per building. The required 25% local match for this grant would be the responsibility of the building owners. Whereas grant funding would support continued downtown revitalization efforts, which in the past have included the completion of a $200,000 downtown revitalization project connecting downtown Amenia with the Harlem Valley Rail Trail along Mechanic Street, in addition to the implementation of $195,000 New York State Main Street grant as awarded in 2011 that included building renovation, streetscape, and project administration. Whereas the town grant application must be filed through the consolidated funding application by July 26. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Amenia hereby authorizes preparation of a grant application to the New York State Main Street Grant Program and authorizes the supervisor to sign and certify the application.
I make the motion that a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Main Street Program.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Simoji?
Yes.
Okay, I have no other matters or any public comment. No. Town board comments?
I'd like to see the old Amenia landfill opened if we have completed all of the steps necessary. It seems like that would be an excellent place for people to walk and enjoy the scenery, me being one. The parking place is open, right, it's completed, the trails are prepared and available. Is there another step that we need to take before we can open it?
I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Sharon because
Okay.
they're the one that does the maintenance, but I can look into that.
Okay,
So
if
that
there's a
we can
missing
open it.
step, yeah, we could get onto that and.
Yeah, and
see what's
there has
necessary.
been some money put aside for environmental
Education?
education.
So there was $1,800 for a sign. Is
Yes,
that still
the
set
18
aside?
Yes, the
Okay.
1800s is still there.
And are there requirements for the sign to stipulate how this was rebuilt, or are we just allowed to?
I'll have to look at
Okay.
that. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I'll have to look. I can check with Kimberly.
I do have those signs that we had put down in Borden Park, and those were very inexpensive, and they lasted 15 years, which is the maximum you can do. So we could get on to putting that together and seeing if that company could put together a quote, because those held up well and they served their purpose. They
They're
also need to be
interpretive
refurbished.
signs. That's the
Yeah.
word I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different
Things that we could.
plants and animals and birds and all kinds of things there. Okay, I make a motion to go into executive session for employment history of a particular person or corporation or relating to appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or removal with the town attorney and the town clerk.
I second.
Okay, I'll second it.
Jim? They both fighting over the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Make a motion to come out of executive session, regular meeting.
Second.
Now you.
Sorry, all in favor?
Aye. There was one other issue that we didn't cover. Donna, hiring Donna DePippo, we hired her as a temp to work in the assessor's office doing the data collecting because the current data collector took a lot of vacation time right around the time we were finishing the role. So we want to hire her. So we have 2 data collectors. So if one's on vacation, we still have another one. It's not going to make any difference in the budget line. It's not going to be any increase or anything. So I make a motion to hire Donna DePippo as data collector for the assessor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Resolution number 41, reappointment of town assessor. Whereas Chris Bork, the assessor for the town of Amenia, current term expires on September 30th, 2019. Whereas Christopher Bork has expressed his desire to be reappointed as assessor for the town of Amenia. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Amenia does hereby designate and reappoint Christopher Bork as the assessor for the town of Amenia with his term to expire on September 30th, 2025. I make that motion?
Second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Morris?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Simoji?
Yes.
Okay, is there any other comment? No? Then I think you're on, Jen.
Okay, I move that we adjourn.
And I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?